Dr. Kim Hyan was deep in his research files when the piercing wail of the emergency beacon shattered the quiet of his quarters. The red warning lights bathed his small room in crimson as the communicator crackled to life with desperate voices from Colony Westfield. Medical emergency. We have children collapsing. Unknown pathogen spreading fast. Kim's heart raced as he listened to the frantic reports. 15 children were already showing symptoms: high fever, strange purple rashes, spreading across their skin, difficulty breathing. The colony's basic medical facility was overwhelmed. They needed a xenobiologist immediately. He had opened his equipment locker and grabbed his emergency medical kit, the one containing samples of every known alien pathogen cure. His fingers moved quickly, checking his portable scanner, biocontainment, units, and synthesis equipment. Every second counted when dealing with unknown diseases. The orbital station's corridors were dimly lit in night mode as Kim sprinted toward the transport bay. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls while he mentally reviewed treatment protocols. If this was a new strain from one of the outer rim planets, he might need to synthesize an entirely new cure on site. Stop right there. The booming voice made Kim skid to a halt. Park Dong-soo, the HOA security chief, stepped out from behind a junction box. His uniform crisp despite the late hour. The man was built like a tank, with arms crossed and a scowl that could freeze helium. Curfew violation. Doctor, no one moves through residential sectors after 2,200 hours. Station regulations clearly state, this is a medical emergency. Kim interrupted, holding up his kit. Children are dying on Westfield Colony. I need to get to the transport bay now. Park's expression didn't change. If anything, his scowl deepened. I don't care if the whole galaxy is on fire. Rules are rules. Show me your after-hours residential movement permit. Kim stared at him in disbelief. Permit? Are you serious? Kids are dying while we're talking. Should have thought about that before violating curfew. The HOA doesn't make exceptions for anyone. Park pulled out his tablet and began typing. That'll be a 500 credit fine for unauthorized movement, plus another 200 for a failure to carry proper documentation. The absurdity hit Kim like a physical blow. Here he was, one of the galaxy's leading experts on alien diseases, being treated like a criminal for trying to save lives. Through the station's windows, he could see the sleep transport ships waiting in the bay, their engines already warming up for emergency departure. Look, I'll pay whatever fine you want later. Right now, I need 2. Nobody moves without proper authorization. Park stepped closer, his hand resting on the taser clipped to his belt. Those are the rules that keep this station running smoothly. You medical types think you're above the law. But everyone follows HOA regulations here. Kim's communicator crackled again with updates from Westfield. The situation was getting worse. 2 more children had collapsed, and the purple rashes were spreading to adults now. The colony's doctor sounded panicked as he described symptoms. Unlike anything in their medical database. Please, Kim said, desperation creeping into his voice. I've treated diseases from 17 different star systems. I might be the only person in this sector who can help them. Just let me through. Park's laugh was cold and mechanical. 17 star systems, right? And I'm the Emperor of Proxima. Show me your permit or get back to your quarters. The security chief was enjoying this. Kim realized with growing horror. This wasn't about rules or safety. It was about power. Park had found someone to push around, and he was savoring every moment of it. Kim tried to step round him, but Park moved to block his path. I'm warning you, Doctor. Any attempt to bypass security will result in immediate detention. Then detain me after I save those children. Kim made a sudden dash to the left, hoping to slip past Park's hand shot out, grabbing Kim's arm with crushing force. That's assault on a security officer. In one smooth motion, Park drew his taser and jammed it against Kim's ribs. The electrical discharge hit like lightning, sending waves of agony through the doctor's body. His medical kit scattered across the floor as he collapsed, muscles spasming uncontrollably. Resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and violation of curfew, Park said calmly, already calling for backup. Take him to detention. As consciousness faded, Kim heard his communicator one last time. The desperate voices from Westfield were calling for help that wouldn't come. The children who might have lived would die because one man valued his petty authority more than human life. The last thing Kim saw before everything went black was Park Dong-soo picking up the scattered medical equipment, examining it with the casual interest of someone inspecting confiscated contraband. The cold metal floor of the detention cell pressed against Kim's cheek as consciousness slowly returned. His body ached from the taser shock, muscles still twitching from the electrical assault. The sterile white walls seemed to mock him as he struggled to sit up, his head pounding with each movement. "Dr. Kim, thank the stars you're awake." The familiar voice made Kim look up through the energy barrier. Nurse Lee Min-ho stood in the corridor, his usually calm face streaked with tears behind him. Two other medical staff members waited anxiously. Dr. Park Ji-yoon from the pediatric ward, and technician Yoon Dae-ho from the lab. "Min-ho," Kim's voice came out as a croak. "What time is it? How long have I been here?" The silence that followed made Kim's blood run cold. Min-ho's hands shook as he gripped the detention barrier, unable to meet his mentor's eyes. "For hours, Doctor. For hours and 17 minutes. The words hit Kim like a second taser blast. For hours. He tried to stand, but his legs gave out, sending him back to the floor. "The children. Westfield Colony. Tell me they got help." Min-ho's sob echoed through the detention block. "We tried everything. Called every medical transport in the sector. But you were the only xenobiologist qualified for unknown pathogens. The colony doctor. He did his best with basic treatments. But what?" Kim demanded, though he already knew the answer from the devastation on his assistant's face. 15 children died while you were locked up here," Dr. Park Ji-yoon said quietly. "The youngest was only 6 years old. The pathogen spread faster than anyone predicted. By the time emergency transports arrived from the outer stations, it was too late." Kim felt the world spin around him. 15 children, kids who should have been playing with their friends, learning about the galaxy, dreaming of adventures among the stars. All dead because one security chief cared more about his petty rules than human lives. The parents, Kim whispered, they're demanding answers. Yoon Dae-ho said, "The whole colony is in chaos. Some families are already packing to leave Westfield. They don't trust the HOA to protect them anymore." Through the detention block's small window, Kim could see the main corridor of the orbital station. HOA security officers strutted around in their crisp uniforms, acting like they owned the place. Normal station residents hurried past with their heads down, afraid to make eye contact with the so-called authorities. "There's more," Min-ho said reluctantly. The Galactic Medical Authority received the incident report. Ambassador Velter from the Helix Consortium is furious. They're calling it a violation of the emergency medical protocol. Kim managed to pull himself to his feet, gripping the cell wall for support. "What did the HOA say?" Chairman Choi Soon-ho held a press conference an hour ago. He said, and I quote, "Let the aliens complain. We govern human colonies by human rules. No crystal-faced bureaucrat is going to tell us how to run our communities." The stupidity of it made Kim's head spin. Humans had spent decades building relationships with dozens of alien species, creating trade agreements, sharing medical knowledge and establishing peaceful colonies across the galaxy. The Galactic Medical Authority wasn't some foreign interference. It was a cooperative organization that humans had helped create. He called Ambassador Velta crystal-faced. Kim asked in disbelief. On live broadcast to 17 star systems, Dr. Park Ji-yoon confirmed. The ambassador's people are known for their perfect memory. They don't forget insults. Through his communicator, Kim could hear the chatter from the medical bay. Emergency calls were pouring in from other colonies now. News of the Westfield. Tragedy was spreading fast, and panic was setting in across human settlements. If a simple pathogen could kill 15 children because of bureaucratic interference, what else might go wrong? The really insane part, Yoon Dae-ho said, is that Park Dong-soo got a commendation from the HOA board. They praised him for maintaining order and enforcing regulations under pressure. He's being promoted to Chief of Station Security. Kim slammed his fist against the energy barrier, which hummed but held firm. Those children died for nothing. Their families are destroyed. The colony is falling apart. And that monster gets a promotion? It gets worse, Minho said quietly. 3 alien medical ships that were heading to help other human colonies have changed course. They're saying they won't risk having their doctors detained by human authorities, the Zephyrian medical frigate that was bringing quantum healing technology to New Seoul. They turned around this morning. The full scope of the disaster was becoming clear. This wasn't just about 15 dead children, though that alone was unforgivable. The HOA's actions were damaging humanity's reputation across the galaxy. Other species were starting to see humans as unreliable partners who would let politics interfere with life-saving medical care. Kim sank back onto the cold bench, overwhelmed by the consequences of 4 lost hours. In his career, he had saved thousands of lives across dozens of worlds. But today, bureaucratic stupidity had turned him from a healer into a helpless prisoner while children died. Outside his cell, the station continued its normal operations. But Kim knew nothing would ever be normal again. The sleek diplomatic transport ship materialized outside the orbital station like a crystal cathedral floating in space. Its translucent hull caught the light from nearby stars, creating rainbow patterns that danced across its surface. Ambassador Velta's vessel was a work of art, but everyone on the station knew it carried serious business today. Kim watched from his cell window as the crystalline ship extended docking tubes toward the station. He'd worked with Helix Consortium doctors before. They were brilliant healers who could regrow entire organs using harmonic frequencies. But he'd never seen them this angry. The ambassador's coming personally. Minho whispered through the detention barrier. That's unprecedented. Usually they just send legal representatives for minor disputes. 15 dead children isn't. Minor, Kim replied, his voice still hoarse from the taser attack. The station's corridors buzzed with nervous energy as HOA security officers scrambled to prepare for the diplomatic visit. Chairman Choi Sun-ho strutted around barking orders, his chest puffed out like he was welcoming visiting royalty instead of facing serious charges. Make sure conference room is spotless. Choi commanded his staff. These aliens need to understand that we run a tight ship here. Show them our regulations manual, the full 300-page version. Vice Chairman Oh Ji-won nodded eagerly beside him. Should we have security present? These crystal creatures can be unpredictable when they're upset. Kim shook his head in disgust. These idiots still didn't understand the gravity of their situation. The Helix Consortium wasn't some backwater species. They were one of the galaxy's most respected civilizations, with technology that made human achievements look primitive. The docking process took 20 minutes. Followed by the formal customs inspection that all diplomatic vessels required. Kim could hear the ceremonial announcements echoing through the station speakers as Ambassador Velta and his team officially boarded. Now arriving, His Excellence Ambassador Velter of the Ninth Resonance, representing the Helix Consortium. In matters of galactic medical law, the ambassador himself was a sight to behold, standing nearly 8 feet tall. His crystalline body caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Each step he took created a soft chiming sound, like wind, blowing through crystal tubes. Behind him walked 3 legal advisors, their smaller crystal forms flickering with different colors, blue for contract law, green for medical protocols, and red for criminal proceedings. The HOA board had assembled in their fanciest conference room, complete with polished wooden table and formal Earth-style decorations. They'd even brought out the expensive coffee service, as if they were hosting a business meeting instead of facing a formal investigation. Chairman Choi stood at the head of the table wearing his most expensive suit. Flanked by Vice Chairman Oh and 3 other board members, Security Chief Park Dong-soo lurked near the door in his freshly pressed uniform, still wearing the commendation pin he'd received for maintaining order. "Welcome to our facility," Choi said with forced cheerfulness. "I trust your journey was pleasant. We've prepared our finest accommodations. This is not a social visit," Ambassador Velter replied, his voice carrying harmonics that made the windows vibrate slightly. "We are here to investigate serious violations of galactic medical law." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Oh-ji-won cleared his throat nervously and gestured to the thick manual sitting on the table. "Well, I'm sure we can clear up any misunderstandings quickly. You see, we have complete jurisdiction over this residential facility. Our codes clearly state that all movement during curfew hours requires proper documentation. No exceptions can be made, regardless of your codes." Velter interrupted, and suddenly he was speaking perfect Korean with a Seoul accent, superseded by Galactic Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha. Established by human governments in 2387, the room fell completely silent. The HOA board members stared in shock. They'd assumed the crystal being wouldn't understand human languages beyond basic trade speech. "I believe there's been some confusion," Oh-ji-won stammered. "We don't recognize any galactic authority over our internal." Velter's crystalline form flashed with rainbow colors as he reached into what appeared to be empty air and pulled out a holographic document projector. The device activated with a soft hum, filling the center of the conference table with 3-dimensional legal text. "I have copies of the Solar Accords right here," the ambassador said calmly. "Signed by Earth's President Kim Tae-sung, witnessed by the United Nations Medical Council, and ratified by every human colony in this sector." The floating text was unmistakably authentic, complete with official seals and biometric signatures. Chairman Choi's face went pale as he read the relevant sections, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Article 7, Section 3. Velter continued, his harmonic voice now carrying an edge of steel. "Any interference with emergency medical response by local authorities constitutes a felony under both human and galactic law. The penalty includes criminal charges, civil liability, and potential loss of colony status." Park Dong-soo shifted uncomfortably near the door. "But we were just following station regulations." The doctor didn't have proper permits. The doctor, Velter's form flashed brilliant red, was operating under Emergency Medical Authority, which grants unlimited access during life-threatening situations. Your permits and curfews become null and void the moment that beacon activated. The legal advisor with blue coloration stepped forward and projected additional documents into the holographic display. Furthermore, the detention of medical personnel during active emergencies carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years under human federal law. Oh-ji-won's hands trembled as he reached for his water glass. The HOA's confident facade was crumbling faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The grand courthouse on Titan Station had never seen anything like it. News ships from 17 different star systems crowded the orbital docks, their transmission rays pointing toward the massive judicial complex. Reporters from the Galactic Broadcasting Network set up their equipment alongside human journalists, while curious aliens gathered to watch what many were calling the trial of the century. Inside the main courtroom, every seat was filled. The chamber's curved walls displayed real-time translations in dozens of languages as beings from across the galaxy watched the proceedings. Crystalline Helix observers chimed softly in their section, while the serpentine Zephyrians coiled quietly in specially designed seating. Even the usually reclusive Void Walkers had sent representatives, their shadowy forms flickering at the edges of perception. Dr. Kim sat in the witness section, still bearing faint marks from his taser injuries. Beside him, the families of the 15 dead children clutched photographs and personal belongings, their faces etched with grief that would never fully heal. The defense table looked like a fortress under siege. HOA lawyer Yoon Taimin, a sharp-dressed man with expensive implants, sat surrounded by stacks of legal documents and 3 junior attorneys. His clients, Park Dong-soo, Chairman Cho, and Vice Chairman Oh, tried to maintain their dignity, but sweat stains on their formal clothes betrayed their nervousness. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of all species, Yoon began his opening statement, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Today, we face a fundamental question about human sovereignty. Are we a free species, capable of governing ourselves? Or must we bow to alien interference in our most basic affairs? The gallery stirred uneasily. Several human colonists nodded in agreement, but the alien observers remained perfectly still. My clients acted according to established regulations, Yoon continued, warming to his theme. Security Chief Park was maintaining order during a crisis. How was he to know that breaking curfew was truly justified? Anyone can claim an emergency to avoid following rules. The prosecutor, a stern woman named Judge Advocate Lee Soo-jin, stood to present the evidence. Holographic displays filled the courtroom air, showing the timeline of events in brutal detail. The emergency beacon from Westfield Colony, Dr. Kim's desperate rush to help, Park's cruel interference. The defense speaks of sovereignty, Lee Soo-jin said, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. But what sovereignty allows the murder of children? What authority justifies preventing a doctor from saving lives? She activated a new display showing the pathogen's progression. Purple rashes spreading across young faces, fever charts climbing toward fatal levels, timestamps showing exactly when each child died. All after Dr. Kim's detention. Dr. Bai So-young took the witness stand with trembling hands. Kim's colleague had worked with him for 7 years, treating diseases from the furthest reaches of known space. Her expertise in alien pathogens was second only to Kim's own. Tell the court about pathogen response times, prosecutor Lee requested. When dealing with unknown alien diseases, Dr. Bai began, her voice barely above a whisper. Every minute is critical. The pathogen from Westfield was unlike anything in our databases, a hybrid strain that combined elements from 3 different worlds. She looked directly at Park Dong-soo as her voice grew stronger. Dr. Kim had encountered similar hybrid pathogens before. He knew the treatment protocols. If he had reached Westfield Colony within the first hour, those children would be alive today. And after 4 hours, the prosecutor asked. Dr. Bay's voice broke completely. After 4 hours, the pathogen had progressed beyond the critical threshold. No treatment could save them. Every minute mattered, and those minutes were stolen by a man who cared more about his petty authority than human lives. The defense tried to discredit her testimony, but the medical evidence was overwhelming. Computer models showed exactly how the pathogen spread, minute by minute. while Dr. Kim lay unconscious in detention. Then came the families. Mrs. Han-myung approached the witness stand carrying a small stuffed animal, a purple dragon. Her 6-year-old daughter had loved. Yi-jin wanted to be a doctor like Dr. Kim. She said through tears she would draw pictures of herself treating sick aliens on faraway planets. She died calling for her mommy while the person who could have saved her was locked in a cage. One by one, the parents testified. They spoke of birthday parties that would never happen, of bedtime stories cut short, of dreams destroyed by bureaucratic cruelty. Even some of the HOA supporters in the gallery began to weep openly. Kang Jun-ho, whose 8-year-old son had been the first to show symptoms, pointed an accusing finger at Park Dong-soo. "You murdered my child for the sake of a curfew violation. A piece of paper was more important to you than my boy's life." The security chief tried to maintain his composure, but his hands shook as he gripped his chair. Chairman Choi and Vice Chairman Oh looked round desperately for support, but found only hostile stares from the gallery when footage from the detention area was played, showing Park calmly filing paperwork while children died light years away. Several jury members had to leave the room. The casual indifference was more damning than any angry outburst could have been. Defense lawyer Yu made one final desperate argument about human independence and alien interference. But his word fell flat in the face of such overwhelming evidence. As the trial entered its final phase, it was clear that justice would be served. The courtroom fell silent as Judge Admiral Park Hae-an read the verdict. His weathered face, marked by decades of military service in the outer colonies, showed no emotion as he looked down at the defendants on the charges of criminal negligence resulting in death. "We find Park Dong-soo guilty," the word echoed. Through the chamber like a thunderclap, Park's face went white as his lawyer gripped his shoulder. In the gallery, families of the dead children wept with relief, while HOA supporters sat in stunned silence on charges of interfering with emergency medical services. "We find Chairman Choi Soon-ho and Vice Chairman Oh Ji-won guilty." The judge's voice grew harder as he continued. "This court has witnessed the consequences of unchecked authority and petty bureaucracy. 15 children died because grown men decided their pride was more important than human lives." Park Dong-soo received 10 years in federal prison, the maximum sentence for criminal negligence. His security badge was stripped away publicly, the metal insignia clattering to the floor like a broken promise. Chairman Choi and Vice Chairman Oh each got 5 years plus massive fines that would follow them for the rest of their lives. But the criminal convictions were just the beginning. The civil lawsuit hit like an asteroid impact. Mrs. Han-myung, representing all the grieving families, stood before the same packed courtroom as the financial judgment was read. The court awards damages in the amount of 5 million credits to the families of the deceased children, the judge announced. "The Westfield HOA Corporation is hereby ordered to pay this amount within 30 days or face." Asset seizure. The HOA's bank accounts were frozen within hours. Their fancy headquarters building, their fleet of security vehicles, even their premium coffee machines were seized to pay the judgment. The organization that had once wielded absolute power over the colony crumbled into bankruptcy. Faster than a neutron star collapse. Dr. Kim watched the proceedings from the witness section, feeling no satisfaction in the destruction. Justice couldn't bring back 15 young lives or heal their families' wounds, but maybe it would prevent future tragedies. The real punishment began when news of the verdict spread across human space. Governor Han Soo-jin of New Bison Colony held an emergency council meeting just hours after the trial ended. The chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of human settlements, their faces grim as they discussed Westfield's fate. "We don't associate with murderers," Governor Han declared. Her voice broadcast to 17 star systems. New Bizen colony hereby severs all trade agreements with Westfield, effective immediately. The announcement triggered an avalanche of similar declarations. New Shanghai colony cancelled their grain shipments. The mining operations on Kepler were to be terminated their contracts. Even the tiny research outpost on Proxima 7 refused to share their scientific data. Within a week, Westfield found itself completely isolated from the human colonial network. The economic consequences were devastating. Supply ships stopped arriving at the colony's docks. The regular passenger transports that brought new settlers and carried mail to distant families simply disappeared from the schedules. Trade routes that had taken decades to establish vanished overnight. Dr. Kim received clearance to return to his research station, where a stack of emergency medical requests waited for his attention. The Zephyrian medical frigate had returned, bringing quantum healing technology to colonies that proved they valued life over bureaucracy. 3 Helix Consortium hospital ships requested his consultation on new hybrid pathogens. Dr. Nurse Lee Minho said as they reviewed the requests, "The irony is incredible. The whole galaxy wants to work with human medical experts now. They've seen that most of us value healing over politics." But Westfield Colony was excluded from this new golden age of cooperation. The alien species that had once eagerly shared their medical advances now viewed the settlement with suspicion and disgust. Ambassador Velter made his position clear. During a diplomatic gathering on Europa Station, the Helix Consortium cannot trust a colony that imprisons healers during medical emergencies. Our hospital ships will not risk having their doctors detained by human authorities who place paperwork above lives. The Void Walkers, mysterious beings who rarely spoke to anyone, issued their own statement through quantum resonance transmitters. Westfield Colony has demonstrated fundamental incompatibility with civilized galactic society. They are hereby banned from all Void Walker medical facilities and emergency services. Even the robot collectives of the Mechanicus sector, usually indifferent to organic politics, programmed Westfield into their threat databases as medically unreliable. Back on the colony itself, the residents who had once cheered for the HOA's strict rules now faced the consequences of their support. Families packed their belongings and left for other settlements, unwilling to remain in a place marked by such shame. Property values collapsed as potential buyers learned about the colony's dark reputation. The children who survived the pathogen outbreak grew up knowing they lived in the place where 15 kids died because adults valued authority over compassion. Many left as soon as they came of age, seeking communities that honored the medical professionals who risked their lives to help others. Dr. Kim continued his work among the stars, treating diseases on dozens of worlds and earning respect from species across the galaxy. His reputation as a healer who would defy any authority to save lives made him a legend in medical circles. The lesson spread throughout human space like ripples in a cosmic pond. True strength comes from helping others, not from petty displays of power. Colonies that embraced cooperation with alien medical services thrived, while those that clung to isolationist policies found themselves increasingly alone in an interconnected galaxy. Westfield's name became a cautionary tale, whispered in medical schools and diplomatic academies as an example of how quickly civilization can crumble when bureaucrats forget their humanity. The E&D